The first call came on a Tuesday. I remember because I'd just gotten home from my book club, slightly tipsy from the 2 glasses of wine I'd allowed myself. It was nearly midnight when the phone rang. I almost didn't answer. Who calls at midnight on a weekday? But some nagging instinct made me pick up. "Hello," I said, expecting to hear my mother's voice. She sometimes forgot about time zones when visiting my aunt in California. There was nothing but silence on the other end, then a soft breath. "Emma," a voice whispered, just my name, but it sent a chill down my spine. Before I could respond, the line went dead. I stood there in my darkened kitchen, still holding the phone, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Emma, my name, yes, but also my sister's. My sister who vanished 15 years ago when she was just 19. I was 17 then. Now I was 32, and I'd spent more of my life without her than with her. I tried to shake it off. Wrong number, probably. Or a prank call. I locked my doors, checked my windows twice, and went to bed. But sleep wouldn't come. The second call came 2 nights later. Same time, same whisper. "Emma." This time I was prepared. "Who is this?" I demanded. "What do you want?" A pause, then "You know who this is." Click. I called the police the next morning. Officer Ramirez took my statement, his pen scratching across his notepad. "And you think these calls are related to your sister's disappearance?" he asked, eyebrows raised. "I don't know," I admitted, "but no one calls me Emma. Everyone calls me M, except my sister. She always used my full name." He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. "We'll see if we can trace the calls. In the meantime, document everything, time, duration, what was said." That night, I sat by the phone waiting. Midnight came and went. No call. I felt oddly disappointed. The next day, I visited my parents. They still lived in the same house where we grew up, where Emma's bedroom remained unchanged, a shrine to her 19-year-old self. I hadn't told them about the calls. What was the point of giving them false hope? "You look tired, Em," my mother said, pushing a cup of tea toward me. "Just work," I lied. "Big deadline coming up." My father barely looked up from his newspaper. He'd retreated into himself after Emma disappeared. Sometimes I wondered if he even remembered he had another daughter. That night, the call came at 12:15. "Emma," the voice said, "do you remember Whispering Pines?" My blood turned to ice. Whispering Pines was a cabin resort where our family used to vacation. It was the last place we'd all been together before Emma vanished. "Who the hell is this?" I hissed. "You need to remember," the voice said. It sounded different somehow. Not threatening, but urgent. "Cabin 13, the blue notebook." Then silence. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I dug through old family photos looking for our last trip to Whispering Pines. In one, Emma stood on the porch of our cabin, smiling, the number 13 visible on the door behind her. She was holding something blue in her hands. A notebook? The next morning, I called Detective Marcus Rivera, who had been in charge of Emma's case. He'd retired 3 years ago, but he'd always told me to call if I needed anything. "Em," he said warmly when he picked up. "It's been a while. Everything okay?" I told him about the calls, about Whispering Pines and the blue notebook. There was a long pause when I finished. "I remember that notebook," he finally said. "It was in the initial report. Emma's journal. We never found it, though we looked. Your parents didn't know where it was either." "Could it still be at the cabin?" I asked. "After 15 years? Unlikely," he sighed. "But I can make some calls, see if the current owners would let us take a look. No promises, though." The call that night came exactly at midnight. "Did you remember?" the voice asked. "Yes," I said, my own voice surprisingly steady. "Who are you?" Another pause. "A friend," the voice said, "someone who knows what happened." "To Emma? Do you know what happened to my sister?" I was gripping the phone so hard my fingers hurt. "Find the notebook," the voice said. "Then call this number." They rattled off a series of digits that I scrambled to write down. Then the line went dead. I called Detective Rivera immediately. "I need to go to Whispering Pines," I told him. "Tonight." "Em, slow down," he said. "I made those calls. The place has new owners. They're renovating, but they said we could come look tomorrow. I'll pick you up at 9. "That's too late," I insisted. I need to go now." "What did the caller say tonight?" he asked, his voice sharpening. I hesitated, just to find the notebook. "And you didn't get a name? Anything else?" "No," I lied, the paper with the phone number burning a hole in my pocket. "Em, listen to me. This could be dangerous. This could be someone playing a cruel prank. Or worse, it could be connected to what happened to Emma. You're not going alone. We go together tomorrow in daylight." I agreed, but as soon as we hung up, I grabbed my keys and a flashlight. Whispering Pines was only an hour away. I could be there by 1:30 a.m. The drive was eerie. No cars on the winding mountain road, just my headlights cutting through the darkness. When I pulled into Whispering Pines, it looked nothing like I remembered. Half the cabins were demolished, construction equipment looming like sleeping beasts in the moonlight. I found cabin 13 easily. It was one of the few still standing, though the windows were boarded up and yellow caution tape crossed the door. I ducked under it and tried the handle. Locked, of course. I circled the cabin, finding a window with loose boards at the back. I pried them off and climbed through, landing awkwardly on what used to be the living room floor. My flashlight beam revealed dusty furniture draped in sheets like ghosts from my past. I moved to what had been Emma's room when we stayed here. It was empty now except for a metal bed frame. I ran my hands along the walls, the baseboards, looking for any hiding spot where a notebook might have been stashed 15 years ago. Nothing. I checked the closet, which was barely more than an alcove with a rod for hanging clothes. Empty. I was about to leave when I noticed something odd about the back wall. The baseboard didn't quite meet the floor in one corner. I knelt down and pulled at it. It came away easily, revealing a small space between the walls, and there, dusty and faded but unmistakable, was a blue spiral notebook. My hands trembled as I opened it. Emma's handwriting filled the pages, her thoughts, dreams, secrets. I flipped through, skimming, until a name caught my eye. Michael Winters. I'd never heard Emma mention him. "He says we need to be careful," she'd written. "Says his dad would kill him if he knew. Says his dad would kill me." I read on, my heart racing. Michael Winters was the son of Harold Winters, a wealthy local businessman. They'd been secretly dating. Harold had political ambitions and didn't approve of Emma, a girl from a middle-class family with no connections. The last entry was dated the day before Emma disappeared. "Meeting Em tonight at the Lookout. He says he has a plan for us to be together without his dad finding out. Says he has proof of what his dad's been doing and we can use it." I sat there on the dusty floor, pieces clicking into place. Harold Winters had run for state senate the year after Emma disappeared. He'd won and served 2 terms before a scandal forced him to resign. Something about financial improprieties, though the details had been kept quiet. I checked my watch. 3:17 a.m. Too late or too early to call the number the mysterious caller had given me. I tucked the notebook into my jacket and climbed back out through the window. The drive home was a blur. My mind raced with possibilities. Was Michael Winters my midnight caller? Was he trying to make amends for something, or was it someone else entirely? I waited until 8 a.m. to call the number, late enough to be reasonable, early enough to beat my 9 a.m. meeting with Detective Rivera. The phone rang 3 times before someone picked up. "Hello?" A man's voice, cautious. "This is Emma Carson," I said, using my full name. "I found the notebook." A sharp intake of breath. "You actually went." He sounded surprised. "Do you understand now?" "I understand my sister was seeing Michael Winters secretly," I said. "I understand his father didn't approve. What I don't understand is what happened to her or why you're calling me now, 15 years later." "Michael is dying," the man said quietly. "Cancer. He doesn't have long, and he can't take this secret to his grave." "What secret?" I demanded. "Where is my sister?" "He can tell you himself," the man said. "He's at Mercy Hospital, room 415. Go now before his father's daily visit at 10. I called Detective Rivera and told him to meet me at the hospital instead. Michael Winters looked nothing like I'd imagined. The cancer had hollowed him out, leaving him gaunt and pale against the hospital sheets. But his eyes lit up when I walked in, Detective Rivera close behind me. "You look so much like her," he whispered. I placed the blue notebook on his bed. "Tell me what happened." He closed his eyes briefly. "We were in love. My father found out, threatened to cut me off if I didn't end it. But I discovered something, evidence of my father's illegal dealings, embezzlement, bribery. I thought we could use it as leverage, or at least have enough money to run away together." He paused, his breath ragged. "Emma came to meet me that night, but my father followed her. He confronted us at the lookout. There was a fight. Emma fell." Tears leaked from the corners of his eyes. "It was an accident, but my father, he said no one would believe that. He said I'd go to prison. He made me help him hide her body." I couldn't breathe. Detective Rivera's hand was on my shoulder, steadying me. "Where?" the detective asked quietly. "The old well on our property," Michael said, "behind the guest house. He had it filled in the next day, said it was a safety hazard, built a gazebo over it." He looked at me, his eyes pleading. "I'm so sorry. I was a coward. I should have come forward years ago." 3 days later, they found Emma's remains exactly where Michael had said they would be. Harold Winters was arrested at his country club, the look of shock on his face when the officers approached, captured by a dozen smartphone cameras. At Emma's funeral, finally after 15 years, I stood between my parents, who seemed to have aged a decade in a week. Detective Rivera came, as did Officer Ramirez. Michael Winters did not. He'd passed away the day after our visit, his confession both his redemption and his release. As we lowered Emma's casket into the ground, I thought about those midnight calls that had changed everything. Michael's friend, his nurse it turned out, had made them at Michael's request, using information only Emma would have known to get me to trust them. I still have the blue notebook. Sometimes, late at night, I read Emma's words, getting to know the woman my sister never had the chance to become. And sometimes when the phone rings late, I still feel that jolt of anticipation. But it's never her. It's never anyone from the past calling to set things right. Yet in a way, those midnight calls gave me something precious. Closure, yes, but also a chance to bring my sister home, to lay her to rest properly, to finally begin to heal the wound that had shaped half my life. The dead can't call us, I know that. But sometimes, somehow, they find ways to make their voices heard. You just have to be willing to listen.